Okay, so I'm a printer, and I'm going to talk about animals. Well, but first I'm going to talk a little bit about MailPrint. MailPrint is this phenomenal group of people that come together each and every day to do one thing. As Simon said, what's the why? And the real why for us is that we help our clients make money. We do that in a lot of ways by putting ink on paper, digital communication out into the marketplace, to help strategy, to help in figuring out how they can make money. And admittedly, the name doesn't fit, and in 2 months I'll be able to tell you what the new name is, and it's pretty cool and pretty leading edge. The company is owned by myself and my brother, as well as a gentleman by the name of Larry Whitmire. It was a family-owned company until February of this year. So we're going through lots of very cool changes. But what we've stayed true to is that our culture is really just a bunch of hardworking country kids. The people at MailPrint go above and beyond each and every day for our clients. And I truly believe that's because, as Kristen said, leadership. And we weren't always great leaders. But what I want to do a little bit today is share with you about some of the things that we've learned and the failings that we've gone through so that maybe you can take these out and not have to go through them yourself. So put on your seatbelts and let's get going. And I'm going to tell you this too. You know it's a great conference as a speaker when you want to change your topic and your outline about 7 times before you have to speak. And that's all I've been doing all morning is rewriting and replanning and rethinking. So wish me luck. I'm a little nervous. So the farm. I'm first generation off the farm. So my summers were about going to the farm and working, whether it was my dad's side or my mom's side. My mom grew up in Boonville, Missouri, which is smack dab in the middle of the United States. And my dad grew up in Missouri City and Independence area. And he lived with his aunt and uncle on the farm. So we learned that there were certain things that you had to do no matter what, they didn't get pushed off. In business, we call that making payroll. That's how you do that. You don't miss payroll. That's one thing you don't do. On the farm, you make darn sure the animals get fed, the crops get planted, and then they get harvested, and the hogs go to market. Those are very important things, and I think some of those things we lose in business because people don't necessarily die if they don't happen. Your whole revenue doesn't go out the door if that doesn't happen. So we give ourselves some slack sometimes in business, but you can't do that on the farm. And that particularly goes to the nature of our culture at MailPrint, which is super, super strong because the animals have to be fed. And we take that very seriously. Every day, my job, everything that goes wrong in the plant, everything that goes wrong with the customer, I look myself in the mirror and I take personal responsibility for that. Eric, my brother, does, and my other business partner, Larry, do. Every single thing that goes wrong is ultimately our responsibility. We don't get to point the finger at anybody else. And that's a very key thing. If you can stand there and look in the mirror and say, yes, somebody made a mistake, but it's my responsibility to figure out, is it a training issue, a process issue, or a people issue? And if you don't take those 3 things very seriously, you're going to continue to repeat those mistakes. But as an entrepreneur, as a leader, responsibility is your key thing to pay attention to. I have a personal sense that leadership is missing or is drastically underappreciated in our communities, whether it's civic leadership or business leadership. And I'm going to talk towards the end about where some of those are evident. So when you as an entrepreneur have trouble and you're wondering, am I being a good leader? You'll know a few things that you might be doing wrong. So I want to tell you a story about an individual we had on the staff. Her name is Amanda. Amanda is a phenomenal person. She worked in our accounting group. And I really didn't have much occasion to talk to Amanda. Yeah, I'm the CEO of the company, but Eric, my brother, took care of all the finance stuff. So I just never really interacted with Amanda. It happened that Amanda's mother, Barb, worked in another department of the company, and I worked with Barb more closely. And Barb came to me one day and she said, Gina, Amanda's really upset. Well, Amanda will need to know if I'm mad at her. I'm not mad at her. Why would she be upset? Well, she's sure that you're very mad at her and very upset with her. So I'm like, well, why? Why would she think that? I haven't interacted with her. I haven't done anything. You walked by her in the hallway and you didn't say hello. Okay, now I had to put on my seatbelt because, frankly, I was important then. All these people worked for me. They just needed to go do their job and quit being so emotional. That evening, I had a visceral reaction to my comments and my thought process. I mean, it was literally like a punch in the gut. I believe that as a leader, my job is to set a point in the distance. And frankly, I'm kind of a wild-eyed thinker, and I can't even tell you exactly what that point is. But I can see it and feel it in my gut. You're shaking your head, right? I feel it in my gut. And my job as a leader is to make sure that whatever I do doesn't prevent all these people following me from helping me get to that point in that distance. And if I was a bitch to Amanda and not even knowing it, how dare I have the right to be a leader? Amanda's job was impaired. Her ability to help me get there was impaired because I wasn't nice and kind at every interaction with her. And all I did not do was say hello to her. So the very next morning I got up, and like Nadia, I'm an introvert. I would rather sit in my office and do my work than go talk to people. Okay, admittedly. So I'm like, okay, Gina, it's time to put on your big girl panties and go out and lead. So I walked in the plant. Hi, Della, how you doing? Are you having a great day? It's going to be an awesome day here at MailPrint. You ready to go? Yeah, what's going on, Gina? Hey, Dan, how's the schedule looking? What's happening? Are we rocking and rolling? What's happening? Okay, admittedly, that was the hardest thing I could ever have to do. And of course, the plant all knew it. Everybody on the staff knew it. They were sure I must have a new boyfriend. So I did that for 2 weeks, and it was 2 weeks of bloodletting for me. But the attitude within the plant changed. And I had people that were all of a sudden happier because I was happy. As a leader, they don't need to know your pain. They just need to be able to follow you, and you need to get out of their way. Make sure you do that. So Amanda doesn't work for us anymore, but I continue to think fondly of her and wish her very well. And there's a little more to Amanda's story. I hate PowerPoint slides if you haven't figured that out yet. But I had to have something for you guys to look at. So, I had that kind of awakening, and that was only about 8 years ago. And MailPrint's been around for 25 years, you guys. I've been doing this for a long time, and that awakening only came about 8 years ago. About 4 or 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to really learn and study personality profiles. Now today they're very commonplace, but over the 25 years they were not so much, and I was out in the community, I knew a lot of people, but I just learned about this about 5 years ago. And we learned about one of them called Culture Index. Some of you may use it. On the Culture Index chart, I'm a daredevil. I'm going to run off the cliff, and then I'm going to figure out how to sew up my parachute. My brother is a technical expert. He has to have lots and lots and lots of data. And Larry's a philosopher. He likes to sit and tinker, and he creates cool new things. And fortunately, by knowing those differences in each of us, we are able to take the best of us and deliver that, and take the stuff that we're not good at and let somebody else deliver it. So let's go back to Amanda for a minute. Amanda was in our accounting department, and Amanda was a socializer. Amanda liked to talk. Nobody else in our accounting department liked to talk. Amanda was not detail-oriented. Not good for somebody in an accounting department. So after we all took a culture index across the whole company to learn who everybody really was, we learned that Amanda needed to be in customer service, where she could get her social needs met, and she could do a better job for our clients. So it was our responsibility to help Amanda make that transition. And as we went through this learning process, we saw a lot of people that were misaligned. Printing industry is a blue-collar industry. We have people literally that can stand at a press for 10 hours, 12 hours a day, and the press goes cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And they watch the whole thing all frickin' day long. I have no idea how they do it. But thank God they can do it because I couldn't. But likewise, they could never go out and talk to somebody and try to sell them anything. They could never create the strategy that leads us to where we're going. We are one of the only growing printing companies in our region. We are in the process of doubling our plant size. Our staff we are hiring when nobody else is. And that's because we've properly aligned our whole team and taken the responsibility of growth on our own shoulders. So it's important that as a leader you own that because nobody else is going to lead you. You have to lead. So let's see, where am I? Because I'm telling you, I rearranged this whole thing. So going back to the animals. Oh, I didn't move it good. I believe that there's a lot of people that we have to take care of as leaders. We have a variety of places that we have to feed. One of those, of course, is our employees. Okay, let's go. Go. Okay, we'll just go without it. So, we have to make sure that we feed our employees. Without them, there is no us. There is no company. We've got to take care of them, and we've got to figure out what they need to be fed by. Amanda needed that socialization. I have other people on my team who don't want that socialization, but are some of the best sales associates there could ever be. They are introverts, yet they are phenomenal salespeople. I have other people that can sit and do that chunk, 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 but they're not detail-oriented, but they do a great job there. The other people as business leaders we have to feed are our customers. So we're in the process of this merger and growing this company. We've just merged with a couple other companies. We're growing, growing, growing. And there was a huge realization. Our customers needed more socialization, and yet we're still growing. What happens if I can fill that void within the natural tendencies of my staff? So right now I'm looking for good extrovert people from a customer service and a customer experience perspective, so that when we can align with what customers need, we can deliver even more value. So we're feeding our staff and we're feeding our customers. We've also got to feed our vendors. Our vendors are the ones that we have to set a reality for. If you're a growing company, there's a good chance you have no cash. Is there anybody in the room this way? I actually had to go on a budget because we're growing and I need to save money to pay my taxes, estimated taxes. I haven't been on a budget in 20 years. But it's important when you're working with your vendors to set reality. If you're going to have trouble, you need to know it ahead of time. So what do you need to do? You need to have metrics that you manage to. Everybody should have metrics. Every employee, every vendor, and you should have them from a financial perspective with all your partners. So make sure you set reality for them. And the last group of people you need to feed, so you fed your employees and you fed your customers and you fed your vendors, you have to feed yourself. And so often, that's the one person that we forget. And this is a big deal. For me, getting fed means coming out and talking to entrepreneurs. That's why I'm so active in the entrepreneurial community in Kansas City. Pipeline is this group of phenomenal young innovators. It's one of the coolest things going on in our region. And I sit around, I'm in my late 40s, a little bit over 29, and I get to hang out in this room full of these 20-year-olds who are creating new technology and driving everything, and that feeds me. They look to me like a mentor, but just like Simon said, I'm learning and gaining as much from them as I possibly can that leads us forward. But that's work. So what do I have to do for me personally? And I told you about that daredevil profile of mine. That means I just go 100 miles an hour. That profile is often, oh, whoa, tongue-tied. That profile is also hyper-competitive. What I learned about myself when I learned that piece of information is that over the 23 previous years, I was competing with my partner, Eric, my brother. Who did Mommy and Daddy love most? That was the fight. When it all boiled down, it was the same one we had when we were 12 and 6 years old. Mommy and Daddy love you more, me more. You got more grapes than I did, whatever it was. That was not being fed to me. I was not getting that nourishment of competition. So when I realized that, I went back to a childhood love of playing racquetball. I played competitively as a kid and just stopped for some reason. So in 2010, I went back to playing racquetball. My personal attitude switched like 180 degrees overnight. I was back being fed. I was being nourished. My spirit was being blessed, and I could be myself again. So I encourage you to make sure that you're addressing all of those pieces as you look to feed the various animals that you have to within your company. I believe that thoughts should be very short. I believe that sales solves all problems. I believe the animals have to be fed. There's certain things you need to do. And I also believe that you always do what's right. And that little voice in the back of your head where it's going, should I do this or should I do that? Well, I know this one is right, but this one would cost me less money. We've all had those instances. Well, if I don't tell them it's shipped today, they don't ask about it, it's okay. You know what you need to do. So always do the right thing. But also make sure that when you're doing it, you're feeding yourself. You take full responsibility and then go get nourishment. It's not your employee's fault. It's not your banker's fault. It's not your vendor's fault. It's not the government's fault. It may be some of their actions that impacted you, but it's ultimately your responsibility to feed all the animals. Thank you very much.